Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar, Healthier Lives Impact Through Collaboration. So I'm Sharon Bly, and I lead the work of the Coalition of Action on Healthier Lives, and we have a very large group of people with us today all over the globe. So a very warm welcome, and thank you so much for being with us. So just some housekeeping notes before we get started. As with all CGF meetings and calls, very important points that I want to share with all of you is our antitrust caution statement. If we can all just take a moment just to read this on your screens now, and then we can get into the agenda of today's webinar. Great, thank you so much. So today, just some quick housekeeping notes, because we have such a large audience with us from all over the globe. You are all on mute, but we do want you to have an active role as participants of this session today. So there are two ways to connect with the CGF team, Ava and myself, either through the chat box on GoToWebinar, or you can send us an email at hw@theconsumergoodsforum.com. And no matter what happens, we will make sure that we get back to you either at the Q&A session at the end of today's webinar or after the session directly. I also want you all to know that we are writing an executive summary of this session. So for your colleagues and peers that aren't able to join us live, they will have a possibility to get the insights and all of the learnings that we have from today's session. So what do we have lined up for you? So we're doing something a little bit different. You've been on many webinars over the last couple of weeks, so we've decided to have a fast-paced, fast-moving session with a really packed agenda. And I'm a very lucky person that I get to work with all of the people that you see here on your screen, ladies and men around the world who are absolutely passionate about the Consumer Goods Forum and about empowering healthier people around the globe. So we'll be going through fast pacing, as I said, presentations. And what I hope, my objective for today, is that we leave you with the appetite to find out more, that you will be absolutely dying to get involved in the Healthier Lives movement and work with us and work with all of the leaders that you see here on the screen to really help us to reach our ambition. And I thank you all for participating today and for the support from all of our speakers. Just before we get started, a really big thank you to all of you, and I feel very lucky to have the privilege to working with all of you. So with that, I would like to move us on to our opening session. And we have the board co-sponsors of Healthier Lives. So Mark Schneider of Nestle and Franz Muller of Ahold Delhaize, who sit on our global board of directors, which is comprised of 56 CEOs around the world who really help us lead and drive the ambition of the Consumer Goods Forum. So with that, Mark and Franz, I will hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, for the opening, and warm virtual welcome to everyone on this webinar. We have an ambitious agenda today, and we hope that you will stay with us until the end of this session. As many of you know, the retailer-manufacturer journey to help people lead healthier lives started more than a decade ago. Together, we have steadily built a foundation for our industry to steer towards better nutrition and the health of communities we serve. We've made good progress. However, we know that there's more to be done to achieve sustainable, healthy diets and lifestyles for all. We, manufacturers and retailers, aim to make a positive difference in people's lives while serving our communities and protecting the environment. We strongly believe that business can be and is a force for good. This is why we've stepped up our ambition and have set up this new coalition for healthier lives. Working together is more important than ever, and it is how we will drive change in the future. Just think of the enormity of this challenge. Collectively, we need to meet the nutritional needs of 10 billion people by 2050 in a responsible and sustainable way. The COVID-19 pandemic has been and continues to be a challenging experience for all of us around the world. It has put priorities into sharp focus. It has reminded us of the importance of nurturing a culture of prevention to secure the resilience of public health systems. It has also highlighted the CEO's responsibility in ensuring the safety and health of employees. The global health crisis has also opened our eyes on the fragility of the current global food system. The learnings from this global crisis need to be taken into account in our business strategies, as individual companies and also collectively as a consumer goods industry. We should aim to advance the health of people and aim to reduce the ecological burden of our activities. We will achieve this together through products and services that are good for people and good for our planet. The goal is to transform our food system into a sustainable one that delivers sustainable, healthy diets for all. By acting together, we're stronger for our business and for our society. This is the underlying spirit of our Coalition for Healthier Lives. Let me hand over to my co-chairman, Franz Müller.
Thank you very much, Mark. Can you hear me, Isabel? Is the microphone on?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, that's okay. Oh. All
so
right,
just
thank you very much.
if all other speakers would turn off their cameras, if you're not speaking, if you just wouldn't mind turning off your webcam, it seems to be it blocks the speaker's webcams. That would be brilliant. Thank you. Over to you, Franz.
Okay, thank you very much, and once more, thank you very much, Mark, being a partner in this coalition. Our industry is an integral place in transforming the global food system towards a sustainable one that delivers safe food and beverages and affordable healthy diets to all responsibly in a very sustainable form. Collaboration has never been so relevant within our consumer goods industry and with our stakeholders such as governments, United Nations agencies, civil society organizations on both global and a local level. Our Coalition for Healthier Lives offers to us the platform that helps us move our ambition into action. You will learn from our today's speakers the concrete things we are doing to move the needle, the way we are nudging people in stores and in communities towards healthier diets and lifestyles, and have experienced the positive effects with the use of digital. A few things on collaboration. The way we are co-leading the Workforce Nutrition Alliance together with GAIN. The way we are collaborating with public health stakeholders and with academia. And we have a number of collaborative programs and tools in place in multiple countries. These are delivering and promising results. We need to sustain them and scale them so that we can achieve a greater positive impact by testing new ideas, spreading best practices, and learning and adopting new ways of working to meet the expectations of the communities we serve. We believe that by collaborating, we can have much more impact at scale. We are pleased to have so many colleagues across the world attending this webinar. We take this as a good sign that collaboration for healthier life is perceived being crucial. Our coalition counts 34 companies, manufacturers and retailers in food, beverages, personal care and hygiene from all parts of the world. And this is already a great step forward. We're doing great things and paving the way towards healthier people and a healthier planet. But to achieve scale, we need more companies, we need more CEOs to join us to drive further local action. CEO leadership is needed to drive positive change. So we count on you. And this is our call to action today. Let us now leave us the floor to the CEOs who are convinced about collaboration and who are already on board. Sharon, may I hand over to you?
Super, thank you so much, Mark and Franz. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to the global co-chairs of the Consumer Goods Forum, who, along with Healthier Lives, help us drive forward our ambition on topics such as plastic, food waste, sustainable supply chain, and many others. So Manuel of Danone and Özgür of Migros, thank you so much for sharing your vision on the impact of the Consumer Goods Forum overall, and what I hope I can say is your personal passion, of course, for this coalition on healthier lives and how you're walking the talk in this space. So over to you, Emmanuel and Özgür.
Thank you, Sharon, and let me start by welcoming all of you in this webinar. We would have loved to see you all in London. That will be for another time. Thank you very much to start with to Mark and France for their leadership on this so important coalition, a foundational coalition in a way for me when it comes to CGF. CGF is all about how the industry can work together as a force for good. And it's very clear that if COVID has taught us anything, it's about the fact that we are completely interdependent. We cannot succeed without being together. And that certainly is one of the roots of how CGF operates. We have actually turned as a board and made sure that the coalitions were all of them for which it was relevant, retooling some of their priorities to address the pressing needs of the COVID crisis, and CHL has been one of them. And thank you for steering this with even more passion within the COVID crisis. We've also, as a board, issued a resolution to call for our 400 members, together with the WHO Special Envoy to COVID, David Nabarro, about collaboration, including governments, authorities, health authorities, to make sure that the food system would continue to work properly through the crisis, despite all the disruptions in supply chains, and which again have been ways of also addressing some of the changes in the agenda of one of the other coalitions, end-to-end value chain, for instance. In that framework, I'm convinced that CHL is absolutely fundamental. We will see a social and economic crisis which will take people back in terms of how much money they can spend on food. We see indulgence being one of these small pleasures that you can afford when there is a crisis and stay home. And of course, food has part to be this indulgence, but that comes also with the danger of increased baddies that we've seen to the tune of what we know about diabetes and obesity. On the other hand, we know also that many people will focus much more on health. It will be all about health, but affordable health. So nudging all these citizens, our consumers, customers, into habits, eating and drinking practices, shopping habits that are healthier for them, I think is absolutely core. So I'd like to thank the leaders of the coalition for putting together this great platform of nearly, I think, 500 cases around the globe of literal local solutions to make these healthier nudges possible. Thank you also to the 100+ kind of organizations that are working in the dozen countries where we operate, because I truly believe, and I hope, as France said, that this webinar will entice more CEOs to join, because there's absolutely no doubt that to bring it to scale, we need many more of us actively participating in the coalition. So thank you for welcoming us. I turn it to Oscar.
Thank you indeed. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
I will just
perfectly.
echo Emmanuel's comments, so not to repeat myself. First of all, we have to thank definitely France and Mark for their leadership on this coalition. I think during this pandemic environment, the situation is proving us that we are definitely on the right path. And our shoppers and consumers are pretty much looking forward for better actions. And I think the mechanism that has been established through the Coalition for Healthy Lives has proven one of the great track records that Consumer Goods Forum has shown as a coalition action. One part of it I can easily see as one of the steering committee participants, the way we rapidly evolve our actions towards the healthier behaviors on the shopping floor of the retailers and manufacturers at the same time. I believe the main reaction which was required for the healthier lives of our employees and shoppers have been pretty much exchanged in a great environment, what we call nowadays global learning mechanism. It's a great one of the good examples, the way we share each other, what we are doing in different geographies, in different manufacturers, the retailer front. I assume a lot of retailers, and as a representative of the Retail College, has experienced several different difficulties, the way they serve their shoppers, and same for manufacturers, plants, and every environment. And we have learned several different occasions how to exchange each other. And there is a great opportunity now with the collaboration of this healthier behavior the shopper's expectation regarding the transparency of the goods and the way they shop, especially the way we shop online and offline, is a great opportunity nowadays to prove that the healthier behavior can be improved by shoppers' own requirements and at the same time the commitments of retailers and manufacturers. I can see it with my own eyes, which is happening in the local countries. I can see it in the global arena. The way the shoppers are behaving is definitely shifting towards a trusted brands, better content, better required information coming up. I think another front of the dimension is definitely the way we produce our goods, which was one of the great agenda, the way we approached the projects, and the biodiversity type of approaches, and the small farmers' interpretations from local countries to the global arenas. I think there are a lot of great opportunities where CHL can help to develop, and lots of good examples I know that our retailers friends will share and manufacturers friends will share the same perspective, the way we empower the farmers, the way we collaborate with local governments to make sure that proper financing requirements are properly allocated. I think this is one of the key nowadays with the impact of COVID afterwards. There will be some economic impact in several different countries. There will be unemployment problems where we have to face all together that all financial sources are coming to the proper allocation of the farmers, small entrepreneurs, to keep up our diversity challenge at the same time. What we are experiencing back in our market, for instance, in Turkey, we have done a lot of similar different actions to make sure that we are collaborating with the government and with the national bank of the country to make sure that we are supporting the financial requirements of the small farmers to get introduced for a biodiversity required different product scales to make sure that the supply chain of small farmers are continuing for a better, healthier life requirements of the shopper's expectation. Same thing around the well-being journeys. I know that a lot of good examples are also happening nowadays, and we will listen today. And one of the good key drivers of the balanced nutrition, which is going to be another dimension of the new paradigm, especially with the immune systems of the shoppers' requirements and the way the shoppers are expecting with different dimensions of expectation, which requires a qualified, more data-driven shopping behavior. We have seen this in our own experience, the way we collaborate with independent organizations like KPMG, and we have done our own partnerships to make sure that we are measuring the way the shoppers are acting and requiring a new KPI to make sure that we express it very clearly, what we call balanced nutrition index, and towards the shopping behaviors of the consumers to make sure that they have a better, healthier lives. With that in hand, I would like to thank you again for all the participants of the steering committee. This is one of the largest steering committee, I think, available at the moment at the Consumer Goods Forum. And I want to congratulate with this rapid and result-oriented approach for best practice sharing. Thank you indeed.
Super, thank you so much, Emmanuel and Özgür. And for those of you who may not know, the Global Board of Directors will actually be meeting tomorrow and driving forward some of the points that Emmanuel and Özgür outlined in their presentation. So a big thank you for everything you're doing for the CGF. Now I'd like to introduce two people who oversee the strategy, the strategic direction, all of the projects that we have around the world, working with probably almost 1,000 people in different working groups and steering committees around the world. Isabel and Marcus from Danone and Walmart, two amazing leaders who are really every day, each and every day, help us to drive this global movement. Now we want to get into the action and show you all of the things that are happening around the globe. So Isabel and Marcus, over to you.
Thank you so much, Marcus, for your kind introduction. With Marcus, we're very pleased and grateful to co-chair this unique coalition of action, Collaboration for Healthy Life. And we are very excited to take you through the work we're doing to empower people to live healthy life. Our work and vision is really driven by the notion of shared value, which is the fundamental belief that we can improve our business and at the same time we can impact and support the communities we serve, in particular the communities that need us the most. So we have created a movement, as Sharon just explained, was maybe 1,000 people acting all around the world to really empower people to live healthier life. And this movement is a coalition of action. Yes, it's an act tank. And if we go back to one slide, please, Sharon, we are a coalition of action because it's time for action, yes. And we have decided to impact in 3 areas. The first one is around impacting healthier behaviors in stores and in communities. How can we together impact healthier baskets, especially of the most vulnerable communities, as it was mentioned in the introduction of the co-chairs and the co-sponsors? The second element, where we want to make a meaningful impact, is around digital innovation and data sharing. We know how important that is to impact with the level of scalability we are aiming for. And last but not least, our intention is to implement a culture of health and well-being for our own people, for our employees. So together, we are aiming with this coalition to set new business practices that will become standards. You see here how many partners have already joined the movement. It's a coalition that has gathered many leading companies around the world that you see here. 34 leading companies have signed up to act as a catalyst of change to empower people to live healthier life at global level. But around the world, we are very pleased that we have so many organizations that have decided to act and to join with us, to join forces with us locally. As you see here, retailers, manufacturers, but also stakeholders. They are very important because we want to reinvent private, public, and civil society partnership to really empower people to live healthier life. And as we are many connected today, especially in times of COVID, more than ever, health has never been so meaningful to all of us. So with Marcus and everyone around this table, we really want to invite everyone, whether you're a business leader, a regulator, a scientist, an NGO leader, to join the movements. We invite everyone to join the forces with generosity and courage, because we need them to build together a more resilient and inclusive economy for healthier life. Marcus, over to you.
Great, thank you. As Isabel earlier mentioned, the Collaboration for Healthier Living was organized around this simple desire to deliver health impact through collaboration and cooperation, but to really do it at the local level. This was an effort to say, how can we, in the communities and the markets where we exist, deliver impact? And what I'll tell you is we've been very fortunate through the CHL to support collaborative action now at the local level in 14 countries. And you see them here, Japan, China, Turkey, France, the UK, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Mexico, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and the United States. And they are all doing great work, and we're learning a lot from those efforts. And what we thought we'd do today was to maybe highlight a bit of the work that's going on. So we want to highlight 4 of the countries today, and we'll start with the United States. For the US, launched initially as a pilot program in collaboration with the local government of Hagerstown, Maryland. It's a decent sized town in Maryland. The US program, which has been branded One for Good, was designed to prove that retailers and manufacturers working together with local groups, local organizations, local government officials and entities could do things collectively that would have a significant impact on the health of residents of Hagerstown. And initially, the One for Good collaboration focused in on 4 areas. One, helping the people in that community make healthier food choices, supporting them around their exercise decisions, helping them around smoking and tobacco cessation, and finally, helping improve overall medication adherence in that local community. And given the success of the One for Good program, the U.S. coalition is actively looking to now scale that model to more markets. And so right now we're in the midst of now taking that from a small local program to one that is much more regional and national in nature. I also note that in addition, beyond the work that was focused on healthy living, One for Good was able to actually successfully add coordinated COVID education response to the program. And that had a very significant impact on that community and showed what's possible. So with that, I'll turn it back to Isabel and talk a little bit about France.
Thank you, Marcus. So in regards to France, well, guess what matters? Food matters a lot to the French people. So in our coalition in France, we decided to partner with chefs. They are playing a key role into designing healthier menus and inviting people for healthier baskets. So we have designed with 25 members of the CGF, a coalition of action to impact healthier baskets in Lyon, where we have worked also with the local authorities to best impact. You will find in the reports that will be published on Friday many learnings on how to best impact behavior change. Yes, because it's not that easy. And here you see that collaborative action does make a meaningful difference, especially when you go into digital. We have used in France the reference of Nutri-Score to really support people in healthier choice. And I also want to highlight the fruitful collaboration with academics, in particular with INSEAD. You will hear more about Pierre Chandon during this webinar. And we are very proud that this new forms of collaboration has been published in the Harvard Business Review. On the next slide, you will see the case of Turkey. Well, we are all very proud about Turkey. As Orzgo did mention at the very beginning, data and digital is critical to impact at scale. And what Turkey Coalition has done is really meaningful. You see here on the left, we did compare the purchase data of the last 3 months in new categories of consumption in regards to food and hygiene. And we worked with the Ministry of Health to compare where do we have gaps. And based on those gaps, we did recommend healthier incentives. And I'm very proud to announce to you that more than 1.8 million of people, of citizens have been reached, and that it did impact, as you see here, what we call the balanced nutrition index, or the baskets of the people. We did altogether did manage to impact healthier baskets. So this is really critical, and it also has driven the case for change, because thanks to that, it brought with the engaged customers an extra 16% growth, which is absolutely key. So in regards to Turkey, I really want to thank the amazing leaders, and in particular, Demir Aytak, that is leading the movement locally, because we are very grateful for this business case for change. Marcus, over to you.
Thanks, Isabel. And I also want to echo the work that Demir and the Migros team have done in Turkey have really set a fundamentally great model for us, that there's a great opportunity for all of us to learn around the world, the impact they've had. And so great work there. I want to talk a little bit about Japan. The work of the coalition of Japan has largely focused in on 3 areas. The first area is improving life expectancy by being very focused and addressing one specific area of focusing on how we can, or how they can reduce salt and sodium reduction consumption in the population. And they're also focused in on how you improve nutritional literacy of the population, with a very specific focus on the needs of seniors who are often the most vulnerable and are often faced with significant nutritional challenges. And I think certainly that vulnerability is only gotten worse in the age of COVID. So that's the first area they focused on. The second area was a specific focus on promoting greater health and wellness solutions and initiatives for employees, recognizing that all of us as retailers and as manufacturers have an opportunity to set the example with our own employees about how we can help them lead healthier lives. And they've been doing that by following the new normal framework that is been provided as part of the global learning mechanism, which I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes, and by supporting the WNA with a target of delivering a scaled program in time for the Tokyo Nutrition for Growth Summit for 2021. And then lastly, because of COVID-19, the Japan collaboration is also working on how to build a resilient model for response that more holistically supports the desire to help people in Japan live healthier lives. So that's just a little overview around some of the work going on at the local level in these 4 countries. And again, it's just what we've seen across all the countries is just really great work. But what I also want to talk to you about is the global learning mechanism. As we've talked about here, we are all learning how to best impact healthier lives in each of the countries and each of the markets where we operate. These learnings are very precious, and the learnings are, sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. But understanding what is actually enabling us to deliver and drive impact at scale. And what we know is when we are successful, it is important to share those learnings. And this is the reason why the CHL created and supported the creation of an unprecedented online platform, what we call the Global Learning Mechanism, or GLM for short, to learn from each other on how best to deliver real impact at scale for healthier lives. And the GLM was designed to be a one-stop open access source for information on health and wellness related activities being led by retailers, manufacturers, and associated stakeholders across the globe. And we've been blessed to have a number of stakeholder groups who have supported us in this effort to get the GLM stood up. And what I'd say is, with the rise of the global COVID-19 pandemic, the GLM has also been able to serve as a significant source of key information about optimal response to the COVID crisis. I would say the CHL, we were able to add COVID in as a key area of focus in a very significant way because of things like the GLM. We have nearly 500 case studies on industry actions, including reports and recommendations about local collectives initiatives around the world relative to COVID and COVID response. And the GLM is both serving CGF members and beyond to help them deal with COVID. While at the same time, we're also generating learnings and new norms for our industry to impact healthier lives more broadly, so beyond COVID, which is helping to stretch our thinking around what is possible and helping us all put health and well-being at the core of our organization's strategic agendas and social purposes. So with that, what we thought we wanted to do, take you into is we're going to do a little bit of a world tour where we're going to have specific sessions on some things going on in a number of countries. And so we're now going to have leaders around the world sharing key snapshots of the work that they are leading. They're going to share, in particular, why collaborating matters, why these coalitions matter, and their case for change. And so I'm going to turn it over to Isabel, who's going to help lead those discussions.
Thank you very much, Marcus. So we are very grateful to have so many leaders that will share their case for change. Let me start with China. So China is the country that matters to all of us, for our businesses, and also because of the speed of the transformation. So I'm very honored to welcome for this session, Mr. Pu as the chairman of Bright Dairy and Food Company, and also Mr. Hu, who is the chief of staff of Fresh Shippo and of Alibaba. So maybe before I hand over to them, let me share with you a very brief overview of the initiative in China. So as you can see, the Chinese initiative is led locally by local co-chairs, Carrefour and Nestlé, who are doing all the work to lead the local steering committee forward. As always in China, it started at the end of 2019 and it went really fast. It went already in 6 cities across China, mainly to start with in stores activity to impact healthier baskets. But as we speak, our intention for 2020 is really to explore digital initiative and really offline to really scale our impact. And as we speak, because this platform is really creating a meaningful difference for Healthy China 2030, we brought on board many stakeholders that are absolutely key for China, like the Chinese Nutrition Society. So now I would love to hand over to you, Mr. Pu, for an introduction of what we're doing in China. And let me start maybe with the first question of what is unique about your action in China and how are you driving change for healthier life in China?
C'est mon tour? It's my turn?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Yeah, Mr. Fabien, bonsoir. So I begin my introduction. Since China put the reform and open, sorry for my English, because my first foreign language is French, so my English has some French influence. Sorry for that. Since China put the reform and opening public policies in practice, many great developments have taken place in the Chinese healthcare. The main health indicator of Chinese residents are generally better than before. However, with the acceleration of the industrialization, urbanization, and the aging of the population, the production methods and the lifestyle of Chinese residents continue to change, as well as the disease spectrum. The proportion of chronic disease, such as cardiovascular, cerebral vascular disease, and diabetes has increased significantly, and the problems caused by unhealthy lifestyles have become increasingly prominent. Based on the above reasons, in 2016, the central government issued the outline of Healthy China 2030, which kicked off a new journey of building a healthy China. In 2017, President Xi proposed the implementing a Healthy China strategy. The healthy policy provides people with a comprehensive full-cycle health services and puts people's health at a strategic position, which gives priority to its development. In the fight against the current COVID-19 this year, the National Health Commission and other departments released the nutrition dietary guidelines against COVID-19, which clearly suggest try to get 1 egg and 300 grams of milk and dairy products per day. The anti-epidemic experts have repeatedly pointed out the importance of drinking more milk in order to enhance the immunity. That's why, fortunately, like Bright Dairy and other Chinese dairy industry, we got a quite good score during the last 3 months. Consumers' demand for dairy products especially fresh milk, has surged sharply since then. Consumers further affirm the value of fresh milk, especially its active substance for improving immunity. With the improvement of consumer health awareness, it will bring more opportunities for the accelerating growth of dairy industry. And as you know, Brett Dairy is the leading fresh milk producer and provider in China, and we are happy, and we are doing more works for our customer in China. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pu. It's an honor to have you as a leading partner in our coalition. May I ask you also why collaboration matters, and how is the collective work that you are doing through Collaboration for Healthier Life in China helping you to lead further change in a healthier life?
As one of the first members of the CGF China Pillars of Health Steering Committee, Brett Dairy has been actively involved in the CHL program and has been conducting effective consumer nutrition education and strengthening collaboration between producers and the retailers through various online and offline activities conducted by CHL. In May 2020, the One for Good initiative of CHL China of the Consumer Goods Forum was officially launched. Brett Dairy set up the theme of reasonable diet, lower the consumption of sugar, salt, and oil with other member companies. We specially tagged with One for Good for the low sugar and the reduced fat yogurt Moshkolovsky. The yogurt without any additive Rushi, the skimmed and semi-skimmed fresh milk you best, so that consumer can find Brett Dairy's products in a wide variety of products and gradually achieve a healthier lifestyle. The corporate vision of Brett Dairy, let more people enjoy the happiness of delicious and health, is in line with the concept of CGF China Pillar of Wealth Steering Committee. We are actively learning and hope to play a greater role in this platform. And as you know, personally, I worked with CGF more than 10 years before, when I worked in the municipal government in China, and we hosted the annual CGF forum, I think in 2007. And myself and my company, Brett Dairy, we were working more for the cooperation between CGF and China and the Chinese company. Thank you.
Much, Mr. Pu. I guess that I'm not sure we have our next speaker online, as we are a little bit in advance on schedule. Do we have Mr. Hu online?
Joined. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous! Right on time. So it's the direct. So as he's joining, do you hear me? We don't see you yet, Mr. Hu. Are you online? I guess your mic is on mute. So,
Yang Ying, are you on the line?
Yes, we are online. We were checking with.
As you are trying to connect?
Yes, we were trying to connect with him as well.
Can you hear us, Mr. Guo?
Maybe he can connect via.
It doesn't seem to be working.
Maybe via telephone if it's.
He said he is
so
online. He's online.
Okay. Oh, perfect. We see you. Welcome. We're very pleased to welcome you, and it's a pleasure to see you again, Mr. Hu. Thank you so much for joining. It is very important for us, the work that you are leading in China through Collaboration for Healthier Life, because we know how important digital and data is to enable the scalability. So the floor is yours. We would love to hear more about what Freshipo is doing in regards to Collaboration for Healthier Life to empower people to live healthier life. The floor is yours.
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you for the very nice introduction, Isabella. I don't know if you can hear me well. And okay, cool. Yeah. Can I find my slides here? Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, all right. So we partnered with CHL since last year when we had the meeting in Hangzhou. And because of that inspiration, we've started our own health and wellness initiatives. So after several months preparation, we launched our Zero series in May. It's mainly about some like new products that specifically targeted, very niche customers who focus on health very much, and who are mostly very sensitive to some of the, the normal, the kind of the common ingredients that is commonly used in fresh products and also in consumer packaged products. So we launched this Zero series, and so it consists of like 80 SKUs, including vegetable, meat, dairy, seafood, and fruit. And we launched this both online and offline in Shanghai and Beijing in over 70 stores. Our idea is that customers can buy from us some, carefree vegetables which are without any agricultural chemicals. So we have labeled it as zero agricultural chemicals on the products. We also offer the customer zero antibiotics, meat and eggs, and also zero phytohormone seafood, and also zero chemical ripened fruits. And it was, I have to say, it was really a very bold move, because before us, there hasn't been any retailers or brands or manufacturers they are willing to see anything about zero, because zero is a very absolute claim that the government or also the industry association have very strict guidelines, but we have kind of worked very closely with the government and also with the industry associations to let them understand like why we launched this kind of products and what are the benefits to the customers, and what are the procedures and what are the steps we have taken to make sure that all the products will comply to all those government guidelines and even and even laws. And excuse me, next page. So because it is a very new concept, and so we have first used the online talk show to promote the concept and also to spread the customer awareness. And so we partnered with one of the leading kind of the the health and wellness providers, Dingxiang doctors, to explain to our customers like why this kind of products and why such benefits would be important, to their healthy life, and how it works. And also we have introduced some of the interesting topics such as, we are going to debate, some of the commonly kind of spreaded misconceptions, in the customer community, like why having this kind of products would have certain benefits. So we launched this talk show online, and at the same time, we broadcast it through all of our stores to maximize the customer reach. And interesting is that this is also the time where when the COVID-19 is still quite kind of quite heavy in the country. So we launched this. We used this kind of format and achieved very good effectiveness in terms of reaching the customers and also containing the cost. So it also become like a zero cost campaign. And in this talk show, we partnered very well with the CHL China team, to provide the endorsement and also the publication to make sure, like, our customers be aware that is, this is like a bigger campaign, much more than those 80 products we are offering. They're actually much more efforts led by CHL China that is happening in other retailers and in other channels. And the next page. So to increase the effectiveness and also the customer reach, we also bring in-store live video to further promote the idea. So we partnered with Danone, and we invited some very famous expert in the baby nutrition and also in family nutrition. So she partnered with a famous like a TV show broadcaster to have a live walk in our store and to explain to our customers, like item by item, the benefits of the products and also the recipes of those products. And in the photos, you can see that this nutrition expert, she was trying to make a very simple baby food using the milk powder and using our zero antibiotic eggs. And she did that really quick, in less than like 3 minutes. And yeah, this in-store live video is interesting because it leverages the advantages of us having over 200 offline stores in the country, and it also leverage the power of technology, which means our customers can see this very easily on our app, and also in Taobao Live, one of the largest mobile consumer community. And because this is a very new idea, so the endorsement and also the explanation from those key opinion leaders and the key opinion customers are important to increase the customer to increase the customer affection, and also important is we found that having some reliable partners like Danone is really helpful, because they provided a lot of good ideas in this campaign. And also this video broadcasting, they also interacted with our broadcasting platform, and also like the Sina Weibo, it's like a Twitter account, to exchange the ideas with us, and also to reply the customer questions. So I remember, like, on this particular live video show, in less than 1 hour, and over 20,000 customers watched online, and I think there are like 10 times more customers who have watched this kind of the recording afterwards.
Thank you so much for taking us through the case for China. I think that we're all impressed by the speed in which you are doing and implementing these actions. We just discussed about it a few months ago, and here it is. It's already in stores. It's already on all channels. You are really connecting every single point of contact for the individuals. And I really hope that the fact that you are leveraging and pulling partners together, key opinion leaders, but also key opinion customers, is really making a significant difference in the lives of the people in China. And I also want to acknowledge what Mr. Pu has shared with us, which is how important it is for us to be anchored into the local public health agenda. And we really see that your coalition in China is anchored in Healthy China 2030, which make also business as a force for good. I really want to thank you for this, and I look forward to our next chapter together. Keep being connected. There will be more questions at the end of the world tour. Thank you so much for taking us through. And now we will hand over to the UK for the next session. I'm very pleased to welcome now the UK team. UK has been very close to my heart because probably one of the first countries to start, and also because UK has always been at the very forefront of public health regulation. I don't know if you're all aware, but it was the first country to understand that nudging was absolutely critical in the policy's success. So the government at the very beginning, many years ago, did invite the nudge units to help them to best impact. So this is why UK is so strong for all of our initiative. I'm very pleased to welcome Jason and Judith from Tesco, along with Kieran from Guys and St. Thomas Charity. In the UK, we have built an amazing initiative with many stakeholders that are really focusing on London and how to impact healthier baskets in London. A very promising initiative that Jason, Judith, and Kieran will take us through. Thank you so much, and the floor is yours. I see Judith. Is Jason already connected? Because we are 3 minutes ahead of our schedule, so sometimes it's very sharp on time. Judith, is Jason there already?
I'm not entirely sure, Isabel. Let's just give him a minute to see if it's on.
Okay. Okay. So I suggest that you can do a very short break of 2 minutes. Yes?
Isabel,
Emmanuel.
if I can jump in, it's Emmanuel here. Oscar and myself will have to excuse ourselves as we need to join another or an important governance committee for the CHF board. It's been a privilege to be with you all. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing here, and I really wish you a very successful continued webinar. Thank you. Seche.
Thank you for everyone. Congratulations for the very well done job. Thank you indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Oscar, and thank you, Emmanuel. So maybe Judith, while Jason step in, I would like to present to you in more details who's Judith. So Judith is part of the Global Steering Committee as 33 members of around the world, leading really our coalition to best impact. Judith has helped us with all the leaders to define the 3 areas where we wanted to make a positive impact. And as many leaders in the coalition, Judith is also co-chairing one of our initiatives, which is the UK, because of Tesco leadership in the UK. It's very important as we are acting in stores and in the communities that we have strong retailer voice stepping into local initiative to ensure best impact. So I'm very happy to welcome Judith, as you are doing a terrific job to lead this coalition for healthier behaviors of people. And we know all the hard work also that this initiative has done in the last months to really team up join forces and really helping the most vulnerable populations that needs our support, and in particular kids. So I'm dying for you to tell me more about this story, and I hope that Jason will join very soon.
Okay, I'm assuming Jason isn't on, so what I suggest is, well, Isabel has already introduced herself, so that's saved us some time there. In terms of the UK session, the plan was for Jason just to do an opening with Kieran Boyle. We're joined by Kieran Boyle, who's the CEO of Guys and St Thomas's Charity, who's really going to set the scene for kind of Lambeth and Southwark, which is where we are doing our initiatives, and describing to us some of the challenges that the residents in Lambeth and Southwark have, and how they set out a case of how we as a collective could help with most impact in that area. And then I'm going to follow up with actually reading what we've delivered in our time working on Lambeth and Southwark, and some of the results that we've seen to date. So starting to share some really concrete information that will help shape our initiative going forward. On the basis Jason hasn't joined us yet, I suggest, Sharon, we move to Kieran's slide, and then if Jason's on, just before I start my slides, we'll get Jason introducing from a co-chair perspective his view of the initiative. So if that's all right with everybody, shall we move to Kieran's slides?
And actually, Judith, we seem Kieran isn't on either, so maybe Jason and Kieran have issues connecting. I wonder if Jessica Tard from Guys and St Thomas's is on the line, and you could step in for Kieran.
Okay, it doesn't sound, I suspect Jess is not on audio if she's not one of the participants. So, so why don't I start with just the why we need to act. Look, you know, in the UK, we know that we have a number of health issues. 60% of UK adults are obese, and you know that situation isn't changing. I think if we were to ask our customers, our consumers, what they would like to see from industry and public health, I think if we asked them, they would want us to work together and really lean in together to make a difference in this space. So we've really got a big job to do. And also, look, we know that customers ask, 7 out of 10 customers ask for supermarkets to lean in and really help them to make healthy choices. So we know that customers really want us to move into this space. And so what's good for customers is also good for business. But actually what we really set out to achieve in this initiative is really building a robust business case for health. And really understanding what works and what doesn't work, and really being ambitious in this space to really trial things that we haven't done before with a broad set of stakeholders really sets us up to really kind of move on. So very broadly an intro, that's kind of setting the scene a little bit of the UK business. Just checking if Kieran is on yet. It doesn't sound like it.
No.
So Sharon, shall we move forward into kind of the Tesco slides?
Yep.
Oh. Okay. So I'm presenting today on behalf of the UK team. We launched our initiative in the 2 London boroughs of Lambeth and Southwark in March 2019, after 6 months of planning. Our mission was simply to change what we as an industry do in order to make it easier for customers, and in particular families, to understand, find and choose healthier options. The UK team aligned really quickly on a really ambitious agenda across 6 core goals, 3 food and 3 non-food goals. So the food-related goals are to increase consumption of healthier calories, such as fruit and vegetables, enable switching into better alternatives, and to reduce calories from foods that sit outside of Public Health England's Eat Well guide. Our non-food goals are to improve oral health, reduce smoking prevalence, and to support seasonal campaigns. Success for the UK initiative has always been about delivering impact on the healthiness of customer baskets, and as I say, really building a robust business case based on evidence to support the scaling up of our interventions. In order to deliver a health impact at a level we've never seen before, we knew we needed all the experts to play a role. I won't go through all the names of everyone involved, but we felt it was essential to have the right level of challenge and also transparency to our work. So involving a broad set of stakeholders, including public health authorities and academics, was key. In addition, the involvement of the London Food Board and the local authorities in helping us to land the initiative became really important as we went through the initiative. And I'm sorry Kieran isn't on yet, but I just really wanted a big call out to the guys at Guys and St Thomas's Charity in particular. They came with us on the journey. They set the scene. They helped everybody understand the challenges that families are facing in Lambeth and Southwark, and really made a difference to the journey so far. So really the call out on this slide was having the right partners from the outset who provide the right level of challenge and the right level of support is really crucial for the work that we do. So moving to the next slide, the review I'm about to take you through covers trials that took place from March 2019 until March 2020, when the initiative was paused due to COVID-19. In those 52 weeks as a group, we've landed 34 initiatives across 3 core channels: in-store, employee health and wellness, and digital. The initiatives have been across a range of different levers that you can see here, from point of sale to pricing and promotions, from employee interventions through to education. Our work is currently being evaluated by Oxford University, and a progress report will be published by Guys and St Thomas's Charity and the CGF in autumn 2020. But to bring our initiative to life, I'm going to give you a brief outline of 3 case studies that have been provided by members of the UK initiative. Further details of these case studies will be available in an interim business report that CGF will be publishing later today, and that will be available on the Global Learning Mechanism that Marcus took through earlier. Further details, our first case study is from Boots. To capitalise on National Smile Month in the UK in June 2019, Boots implemented a programme of consumer education and product sampling across 6 stores in Lambeth and Southwark, and this was done in partnership with GSK. This was targeted at the improved oral care outcomes, which is one of our core goals of CHL UK. The initiative includes 2 core components. Firstly, freestanding display units with a new and increased product offering, as well as educational leaflets on how to improve oral care. These were in store from 29th of May through to 13th of June. And along with this, there were also 3 event days where brand ambassadors in store handed out educational leaflets and merchandise. The initiative achieved high customer engagement, increasing awareness of oral hygiene best practices and a positive financial impact. It's really hard to demonstrate the impact on some of these non-food goals in the short term. So we measure awareness, take-up of initiative and sales as indicators of how well an initiative is going. Over the 3 event days, over 3,200 customers were engaged with ambassadors or picked up samples in store. At stores where the intervention took place, saw a 48% sales uplift year on year for the products that are included in the intervention. That's a really positive sign on all of those metrics from the Boots GSK work. Moving on to a subject close to my heart, the Tesco case study. We know that freestanding displays and promotions are a large driver of consumer impulse purchase. At Tesco, we changed the way products were promoted in our 35 convenience stores present in Lambeth and Southwark, targeting all 3 food goals that we have as a team. As part of this 52-week long intervention, we firstly removed non-seasonal confectionery from freestanding displays. Secondly, we introduced extra fruit and vegetable promotions on permanent freestanding displays. And thirdly, we swapped out less healthy promotions for better choices on aisle ends and what we call ladder racks. We measure at Tesco the healthiness of our baskets by calculating a health score, which is based on the UK's Ofcom nutrient profiling model. Initial results from the first 30 weeks of the trial, from March 2019 to September 2019, were really promising, showing that the interventions delivered a significant improvement in the healthiness of baskets versus our control stores, whilst having a negligible impact or reduction in sales at minus 0.6%. The results were most promising in the stores that predominantly served our local community, whereas there was a more detrimental impact on sales for those stores that served more city workers close to the City of London. So that was the first 30 weeks of the trial. The success of the initial 30 weeks, unfortunately, wasn't replicated in the run-up to Christmas. We introduced our Christmas freestanding display units on our seasonal offer more slowly in the trial stores versus controls. But we did see a negative impact on sales in our trial stores versus controls. And that suggests that we've got more work to do to really understand what drives our performance in those seasonal periods. So interesting learnings from that Tesco study. And then finally, a different case study again from Sainsbury's. Sorry, Sharon, could you just go back one? Thank you. Nectar basket analysis for Sainsbury's found that breakfast cereals is one of the largest drivers of calories purchased by low affluence customers. To try and address this, Sainsbury's ran an initiative to change their shelf position of high fibre, low sugar cereals, moving them to eye level and placing higher sugar content cereals with cartoon characters on the top shelf. The trial took place in 7 stores over a 12-week period. I was targeted at the enable switching into better alternatives food goal that we set out as a team. Whilst the impact is yet to be fully examined, there appears to have been limited change in consumer behaviour as a result of this initiative. That was so that challenges the hypothesis that eye level
Judith, I don't know if it's everyone. We can't hear you, Judith. You seem to have lost your sound.
Of the 34 that we've been delivered so far. Sorry, am I back on?
It's working.
You're back. You're back.
It's okay. It's working. You're back.
Okay. So I was going to say,
if you could share the learnings on the UK would be really helpful for everyone. The learnings of the initiative.
Okay, yes, so I think I was just coming on to that. I just wanted to call out that it's important that we uncover what resonates with customers, but also what doesn't resonate with customers. So we go forward with being really clear on the interventions that really drive a positive health impact. So onto this next slide. Thank you, Sharon. I also want to share with you what else we've learned over the last 2 years. So we know that early alignment around overall goals, including ambition for impact and scale across all participants, is key. Engaging with public health bodies and academics is critical for the right level of ambition and analytical rigour. From our UK perspective, facing into data sharing agreements and funding issues early in the process would have really speeded up our progress. We believe it's important to have at least 2 retailers driving the initiative, with a single central lead in each who is accountable for delivery of their individual plans. Going forward, we will also look to include locations with multiple retailers covering large and small store formats to encourage more players. We recognise that we need to collaborate more, and to do this, a clean team is really essential. And I just wanted to say a really big thank you to the Boston Consulting Group, who've just been an incredible support to us all. We will go further and faster together if manufacturers can lessen the burden on retailers by presenting fully fledged, category-wide initiatives that we can quickly progress through our sales and commercial teams. And it's something the CHL UK team are absolutely committed to going forward, is updating on progress within our organisation and across the CGF membership to really drive momentum for our initiative. We recognise the importance of that. And then finally, just to say, we will look to embed the Collaboration for Healthier Lives initiative at all levels of retailer and manufacturer discussions, including CEO top-to-top discussions. So we've learned a lot in the last 2 years. So I want to thank the team for all leaning in. And just very briefly, just to describe what's next for CHL UK. So since March 2020, as Isabel pointed out, our work has pivoted a little as we have focused on supporting children's health through the lockdown period. And during this time, it's also given us the opportunity to really pause and reflect on our progress so far. We're planning a springboard event in September to agree the framework for the next stage of our work, but we've already agreed to take advantage of the thought leadership work that's taking place across the UK on healthy and sustainable diets, and we plan to pivot our food interventions accordingly towards that work. We also plan to build on the non-food momentum the Boots in particular have driven in the recent last 12 months. And then finally, over the coming months, we will explore 3 avenues to scale. Firstly, to sustain our progress that we've made to date in Lambeth and Suffolk. Secondly, to expand to another city within the UK, ideally where they've already got a really strong health agenda and an infrastructure to support. And finally, we want to scale successful initiatives nationally. Rather than waiting for everyone to scale these, we'll aim to be pragmatic, and any retailer and manufacturer that has seen success should look to individually scale those initiatives and take them forward. So in closing, I just wanted to add a personal note and a bit of a call to arms. As I say, if asked, our customers would absolutely expect us to work together to help them lead healthier lives. And I believe we've made a really good start here in the UK. I'm truly grateful for the leadership and support from fellow CGF members. And I just wanted to call out Sainsbury's, Nestle, PepsiCo, Boots, and my fellow co-chair Danone, as well as the team back in Tesco for your amazing leadership. And we couldn't have done this without you all. I think we all understand that this is a unique opportunity to take action together in order to have an impact at scale. But you know, there is a wealth of expertise on this webinar in the broader CGF membership that's not currently leaning in the UK. And I would really welcome more collaboration as we start to gain momentum for the next stage of our journey. Our UK initiatives are in great shape, but it could be even better. And our best work as a collective is needed now more than ever. And you know, I think Emmanuel made that point extraordinarily powerfully earlier. So we would welcome more input, we would welcome more collaboration, and we hope that you can join us on the next stage of our journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judith, for your leadership and your engagement in this incredible initiative. Before we go to another country, I believe we have Kieran from Guys and St. Thomas Charity that is now connected. Kieran, are you on? Okay, the chance is yours to take the mic now. If you want to share the perspective of Guys and St. Thomas Charity on this initiative. Okay, so I guess we will go over to the next region of the world. Thank you so much, Judith. Thank you, Kieran, for the amazing support of Guys and St. Thomas Charity in this work. It's very key for us to collaborate and join forces with the legitimate and credible NGOs that are acting in the grounds. That matters to us.
Can you hear me?
So now I'm gonna, yes, oh, Kieran. Yes, we hear you.
I'm very sorry about these technical difficulties. I think they say don't work with children, animals, or video conference. So apologies about that. I can be very quick if it's still helpful.
Yes, you can. If you can say a few words about why you decided to join Collaboration for Healthy Life, it would be very helpful for everyone to understand really why private-public partnership matters in this initiative.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
In a couple minutes, Karen, if it's okay with you.
Yeah. I'll be very quick. To build on Judith's point, it would be to say absolutely kind of great efforts I think that we see here in the UK and indeed across the world, but further to go. So very quickly for people's context, my name's Kieran. I run one of the UK's oldest and largest philanthropies. We focus particularly on urban health, so the ways in which global and local ways in which cities shape our health. And we use our base in South London as a test bed for that work. And really, I guess the why of this is, in many ways, is really a story about COVID, I think. So let me quickly take you to there and explain why it's so important that we have public-private partnerships. So it's very clear that COVID hasn't been experienced equally. I'm sure we've discussed it today. You know, if you live in an overcrowded house, if you journey to a job on a crowded public transport, your threat from the virus is much higher. But it goes deeper than that. So your risk from COVID is higher if you live in polluted areas. It's higher if you live in neighborhoods with few affordable, healthy eating options. It's higher if you live in diverse urban environments. So basically what COVID has done is to fast forward a clock on health patterns that were there all along, perhaps less visible, but with as great a human and economic cost. And so I guess what's increasingly clear is that if you want to tackle these issues, you need a much wider team than just healthcare or the health service. And that means a huge role for business and these sort of public-private partnerships. In particular, I think there's a huge role for those who can shape healthier food environments, so food manufacturers and food retailers. Very quickly, I'm not sure if this will be a popular thing to say, but I'd argue that food manufacturers and food retailers as a community haven't gone far enough on these issues. So it's wonderful to see what's being experimented in the UK and elsewhere. It's not just the charities saying that, it's governments, it's increasingly investors. Indeed, in our work, we're partnering with investors with $1 trillion of assets under management in engaging with food manufacturers and retailers on the role that they have to play in the public's health generally and on obesity specifically. So the why of this for us is giving everyone, kids especially, a fair chance at eating healthily, and it's precisely the sort of action that's needed. But perhaps I can just give a bit of context to this. So this slide that you see in front of you describes where we work in South London. If you can see it, we pull out two areas. One of them is quite wealthy, it's Dulwich Village. 1 in 10 kids is obese. Camberwell Green, where we focus a lot of our efforts, 1 in 3 children is obese. And basically what you see is that this is tracking to income inequality. So the food budget for a lot of the families where we work is essentially £1 a day per person. And at that level, it's just very difficult to find food that is both convenient, affordable, and healthy, even if you had loads of headspace, which frankly people working multiple jobs often don't. So if I can move to the next slide, I think it will show why the work is so important. Because what's going on here is basically the exact opposite of what the general public think. So the general public, really any of us. So we all tend to think of obesity as about individuals making poor choices and lacking willpower. But the evidence is very clear that it's about what food options are available to you. It's something environmental. Each of us underestimate how prevalent the issue is. We all think it's pretty rare, when in fact it's big and it's growing. And we all tend to think that it's basically unsolvable rather than addressable through concerted, coordinated and gradual efforts. And so I think that's why this particular partnership is so interesting. It's focused on changing food environments. It's working across sufficient stores to be able to test the breadth of the challenge. And it's all about things that are entirely in manufacturers and retailers' control. And that's what really attracted us to this, is it feels to us public-private partnerships are the way to go. And that's largely because I think there's a lot more within the control of food manufacturers and food retailers than historically has been taken advantage of. And I guess like my call to arms to build on Judith's is if COVID is prompting anything, it has to be a very personal question. which is, am I doing everything I can? And I think here is a really good example of what more people could be doing.
Thank you so much, Karen. It was such a pleasure and such an honor to have you during this UK session. We are really grateful to work with the amazing team of Kaizen St. Thomas Charity that really are helping us as we are acting on the ground to be more relevant, more meaningful to the communities we serve. I think that you all must have learned many things from the UK initiative. To impact healthier behaviors is not so easy, so it's a journey. It's not static, and we are learning by doing. So thank you so much for sharing those lessons learned, and we look forward also to the learning reports that will be published by the end of the month on what the UK initiative has done so far. It will be very precious for all of us. So now I suggest that we move into another region of the world, which is LATAM. It's an honor and a privilege to welcome Daniel and Carlos, not only as CEO of Grupo Bimbo and Grupo Éxito, but because they're also the co-chair of the CGF LATAM Board of CEOs. And it's an honor for us. Why? Because LATAM was the first country to really set this coalition of action. It started in Colombia, and I think that also thanks to the leadership, the courageous and generous leadership of the CEO, we are really able to collaborate to help the most vulnerable, especially in times of COVID. So Daniel and Carlos, I hope that you're connected. We don't see you yet, but I hope that the cameras can be on. Because it will be much nicer for everyone to see as you speak. The floor is yours. Oh, here you go. Welcome. Welcome. We are very honored to have you both for this incredible stage. And we look forward to hear your story about what is collaboration for healthier life in LATAM, as you were the pioneer of this movement.
And thank you for your interest in LATAM. There are many things to share with all of you, and Carlos Mario and I will flip over on some of the subjects. We will be talking first about our experience in LATAM. We started, as you mentioned, in Colombia. This was 3 years ago, and it has gone very well. We're now in our third version of the collaboration for healthier lives in Colombia. We have a presence in 6 cities, and we have now moved into other alternatives as we evolve this journey on learning what works and what doesn't work. In our second region where we focus was Central America. We have been doing fairs, health fairs, and other alternatives in communicating our platform in 4 countries. In Mexico, that was our third region. We started last year with a very well concerted effort with Walmart and many manufacturers. There was a lot of communication also about the program and physical activation efforts in the stores. And lastly, in Chile, we worked in a plan for 2019 and 2020. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we have been in the need of moving this process to a more digital approach. So the journey has been quite active, and we have been able to cover many ground and learn the experiences of working with consumers and manufacturers and retailers along the lines. Carlos Mario, you have some takeaways of our journey, and I'll give you the floor to you.
Thank you, Danielle and Isabel. Our main learnings are: first, regional boards are really important, crucial to accelerate coalitions of actions, within them healthier lives. Now we have 4 coalitions working in LATAM, and also for enhancing affiliation to the CGF. We have 8 new members since the board was created. That is an increase of 29% in membership. Second one is that collaboration is very important between manufacturers and retailers, but not only there, also with governments, with academia, and communicating to communities, so that we will gain credibility in what is being done and achieved. The third one is that we have to measure the impact. We have to use data, and it's very important today, as always, but it's increasingly important. We can see, for example, that in Mexico, after what we did, there was an increase of 11.7% in the consumption of the basket commonly defined. And in Colombia, there was a 38% sales gap tracked by Nielsen against a control group. And finally, that we cannot rest there, that we have to innovate with the learnings, that we have to go to digital solutions like the one done by Migros in Turkey, to make it sustainable, to make it scalable, to make it cost efficient per contact with each consumer. The first pilots are being done. 1 month ago, we just launched the Carulla and Éxito app with the Vida Saludable in Carulla and Vida Sana in Éxito, which are also connected with the Ministry of Health, as we learned from Turkey. So, Danielle, I give you the floor to continue with a Mexico labeling regulation.
Thank you very much, Carlos Mario. We wanted to share with you a latest development that it would be important for manufacturers and retailers in the country, but more importantly, maybe from the spillover that it could have to other countries. In Mexico, very recently, it was enacted a legislation that will require basically all the food and beverage products to have a front of pack labeling. It will be the strictest one that there is in the world. Unfortunately, there was no opportunity to arrive at a reasonable front of pack labeling agreement with the government. It's going to be also not only one of the ones who have the most restrictions and limits, but it will be enacted very quickly. So on the manufacturing side and the retailer side also, we will have to be very aggressive on reformulating if for the little that we will be able to do, but also on printing new labels that will put all the black signs were needed, because this will be enacted in the month of October. So all the shelves would have to be changed with that requirement. The worrisome part is that this is a regulation that will not allow a lot of reformulation. It doesn't incentivize products to be changed towards healthier alternatives, as it's really a very restrictive one. So we will have to live and adapt ourselves to these new facts, and we will probably face a lot of consumer concerns and questions about the new labeling, but more to come as this will be implemented in a few more months. Carlos Mario, you wanted to share the last part of the reflections on COVID in the retail environment in Colombia.
Thank you, Daniel. Everybody is speaking about what we are doing in COVID in omnichannelity, on-off integration and expansion, but I would like to refer to solidarity with vulnerable partners and communities. First, I'm giving 5 examples. The first one is if we go to the next slide, working with children. We have a vision in Colombia to arrive by 2030 to zero chronic malnutrition. Today, we have 11%, that is 550,000 children. The pandemic took 1.2 million children below 5 years to their homes when they were well protected in hospices. And there's a problem to give them access to food. We teamed with the government, and Exita Foundation donated 135,000 protein nutritional packages that have been taken home. Within them, in places where we don't have stores, but are the mostly impacted, like the Amazonas city of Leticia in the frontier with Brazil. The second one is suppliers. Small and medium-sized suppliers have been highly impacted, mostly those that do not produce food products. So what we did is we anticipated payments that were done in 30 days or 2 months to be done in 1 week, and it remains like that to 1,000 medium and small size suppliers in order to promote and protect their working capital and their employment, which has been a way of strengthening collaboration with the most vulnerable suppliers. The third one is the medical community and nurses, which are real heroes in this pandemic. We established a white phone line, which means that for all this medical personnel, there's a free and privileged home deliveries. They get it for free, and they get it before anyone, so that they can work tranquil and not have to make additional visits in their day. And for senior citizens, we established and we made an auto-regulation with the rest of the retailers. We established that the first hour every day of store opening would be only for senior citizens above 60 years to protect their health. The fourth one is to promote solidarity by helping people to donate to those that have nothing to eat. And so what we put together with our suppliers, a basic basket of 12 products of basic food and personal care for $4 with no margin for us. And we have done 600,000 packages, which have been donated by Colombians to other Colombians that do not have access to food. And finally, we have a very important textile business and textile local suppliers and producers, but their work was reduced. So what we did, we turned them to produce masks, which we call the garment of life today, the symbol of COVID. And we have produced up to now 7 million of these masks, and 700,000 of them were donated to 40 cities around the country, so that they will be given by the mayors to the most vulnerable population, especially street workers who do not have access to these very important facial masks. And we preserved in this way, in 50 local textile producers, 3,000 employments, which still are living and are producing something that is new with COVID. So this, within others, are solidarity examples, many of them done jointly with our suppliers.
Isabel, I think we're done with Latin America.
I think you're frozen, Isabel. I'm not sure we can hear you. Thank you so much, Danielle and Carlos, just while Isabel's connection comes back. Hugely inspiring, as always, to hear from our colleagues in Latin America. So a huge thank you for all of your support and all of the work that you're doing on the LATAM and the global boards. Thank you. So the next session that we will, thank you. The next session that we'd like to introduce are our colleagues from GAIN and from Unilever. on employee health and well-being. So hugely important, I think, in particular, everything that's happening in the global crisis at the moment, and just the workforce around the world, and the need for a resilient and healthy workforce has never been more important. So I'm thrilled to introduce Lawrence from GAIN and Rebecca from Unilever on employee health and well-being and the Workforce Nutrition Alliance. Lawrence, over to you.
Thank you, Sharon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, CGF colleagues. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So I'm the Executive Director of GAIN, Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, and I'm here to really ask you for your support as business leaders for the Workforce Nutrition Alliance. And I'm really happy to be presenting alongside Rebecca, because she and Unilever have been real front runners and actually supported the first ever workforce nutrition pilot along with GAIN in 2015 in India. And the goal of the Workforce Nutrition Alliance is to improve the health of your employees and your businesses, and it's co-led by CGF and GAIN. And it's centered on improving diets. If you could go back one slide, please. It's centered on improving diets. Why is that? So look at this slide. This slide shows you the top 10 factors that drive the global burden of disease. This is all mortality and all morbidity put together. If you thought tobacco, alcohol, drugs, or air pollution were the most important drivers, they're not. You'd be wrong. Diet and malnutrition are the key factors. And it's not just in the developing world or the emerging markets that this is the case. It's everywhere. In France, where the CGF is headquartered, diet is linked to 5 of the top 10 risk factors for France's burden of disease. And as COVID-19 hits, food supply chains, diets, nutrition outcomes, they're all going to be even more disruptive and become even bigger risk factors. So no one has a monopoly on the problem. And similarly, nobody has a monopoly on the solution. We can all contribute. And it's really in our best interest to do so. And workforces, of course, represent a key opportunity for action. The ILO tells us that there are over 2 billion employees. That's probably a big underestimate. And they spend a third of their life at work. But what are your motivations to run workforce nutrition programs? So now, as this slide shows, there are organizational level benefits in addition to employee benefits. There is reduced absenteeism, enhanced productivity, lower turnovers, improved financial returns. A recent rigorous evidence review that we conducted at GAIN showed routinely benefit cost ratios of 3 to 1 over 5 years. Now, to put that in context, the S&P 500 index, it took 10 years in a bull market to triple to today's figure, and 25 years before that to triple before that when it was in a more mixed market. So these are really serious bottom line benefits. But these benefits also accrue to society, as the same slide shows, in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. And we know from recent scientific work in the Lancet, in the Harvard Business Review, we know that top talent is increasingly motivated to join companies with a strong social purpose and to work harder and more productively for them. So what can your organization do? Don't move the slide just yet, please, colleagues. So what can your organization do? Well, support the Workforce Nutrition Alliance, please. Our goal is to support improvements in the nutrition status of 3 million workers over the next 5 years. These are the employees in your headquarters, in your subsidiaries, and equally, if not more importantly, in your supply chain. If your supply chains are not resilient, your ability to bounce back from the crisis will be impaired. Good nutrition, someone mentioned PPE earlier, personal protective equipment. Think of good nutrition as the body's personal protective equipment against infection and disease. In times of crisis, focus people's memory. Your people, your partners, and their families, they'll remember for a long time. They'll remember how you treated them and cared for them. during this crisis. So supporting workforce nutrition is really the smart thing to do, but it's also the right thing to do. And it speaks to your very core identity as a company. Next slide, please. So this slide has a lot of detail on it, but please, these are the things that I think you can do would be really good for your companies and their employees. Get your HR folks on board with the Workforce Nutrition Alliance. The Alliance, as this slide shows you, it'll help you diagnose where you are. It'll help you map out steps to strengthen your workforce nutrition program. My own organization, GAIN, has just announced its own workforce nutrition program. And these kind of steps were really important for us to figure out where we were, where we want to be, and how do we get from A to B. Second, support the CGF to co-lead the Alliance. CGF is your body, your members. CGF has said this is really, really important. Again, is really proud to be supporting them, but you can become a champion within the Workforce Nutrition Alliance. Third, become a signatory to the Alliance pledge. There'll be plenty of high-profile moments in the next 18 months where your signature to this pledge will be recognized and celebrated. Someone mentioned the Nutrition for Growth Summit, which will take place in 2021. There's also the UN Food System Summit in 2021 and countless other opportunities. If you make a pledge, it'll be noticed, not just by your employees, but by the world. And finally, and this is really important, please try to reach workers in your supply chains with these programs. They're on the front lines. They need you, and I would argue you need them. Thank you so much. I'm done, Isabel and Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Rebecca.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lawrence.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Rebecca, yes.
Yes, we can hear you. We don't see you yet. Yes, we do. Hello. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much, Lawrence, and good afternoon, everybody. So I wanted to pick up on what Lawrence has said to talk about the importance of holistic wellbeing programs, particularly when we're looking at employee resilience. I think very briefly, just drawing on some of the comments earlier about the response to COVID-19, I think we're all now acutely aware of both the importance of physical and mental health being programs. Both are absolutely vital for long-term business resilience. I think in terms of a COVID response, of course, there was a huge program focused on prevention. Safety was the primary concern at the beginning, especially for our essential factory-based employees and field sales teams. Hand washing was safe, of course, which you would expect from Unilever, good hygiene practice, correct protocols on PPE, plus an overall concentration on an integrated health program, so good sleep, exercise, and of course, as we just heard from Lawrence, the absolute essential element of healthy diet and healthy eating. And not forgetting about mental health, many people feeling anxious and isolated, so checking in for employees working at home, especially because of social distance, and making sure that people are staying connected online. So with all of that in mind, I would urge others to encourage and follow the CGF Health and Wellbeing Guidance as a framework. You can see on the slide the 3 key areas: safety, the CGF GAIN Workforce Nutrition Alliance, and the development of KPIs to track progress and identify any issues. Certainly, I can speak on behalf of Unilever that we will be following this approach, and I would urge other CGF members to do the same. Next slide, please. So if I think about what does approaching employee wellbeing mean day to day for us at Unilever, how have we implemented that joined up approach? The principal way that we're doing this is through what we call our Lamplighter program. It's based on a physiological and nutritional assessment, which enables employees to build their own bespoke diet and exercise plan, and of course, crucially, gain access to mental resilience tools and online support. So you can see from the slide, we've had over 80,000 employees take part in Lamplighter across 75 different countries. And I think for us, the benefits are twofold. it is the right thing to do. Our employees are the #1 most important asset to Unilever, as employees are to our companies, but also we know it makes business sense as well. When we look back over the past 8 years, we know that for every euro that we've invested, the return on investment is around 2.5 and 2.6 euros back. So I think both, something that's grounded in a sensible and commercial framing, but of course has huge important ramifications when it comes to employee safety and helping to improve holistically employee health. If we could go to the next slide, please. So that's what Unilever has done within our own buildings, within our own operations. But one of the most important things that we can do is then to take a value chain approach and think about how can we support employee health and well-being right the way across our extended supply chain. So as Laura mentioned, the absolute key as part of the CGF program is looking at how do you join up that holistic approach and put diet and healthy eating at the centre of the work that we're wanting to do. So in 2015, we started working with GAIN to develop what we call the Seeds of Prosperity program, which looks at how do we improve the farm workers and smallholder farmers' diet and hygiene practices in our commodity supply chain. So we developed together a 20-day behaviour change program where we were aiming to increase the number of food groups that smallholder farmers and workers were consuming daily, ensuring that we could help them to uptake their input of essential vitamins and minerals. And then from a Unilever perspective, building also the expertise that we've gathered over the years on good hygiene. And I think when you put those two elements together, eating a much more varied and nutritious healthy diet and practicing good hygiene, the physical ramifications of that are pretty obvious. So we started piloting in tea estates, Kenya and Tanzania in Africa, and then also in India, and reached about 130,000 individual farmers. So we found, when we look back at the evaluation, not only did we see very positive feedback in terms of much greater dietary diversity, particularly looking at making sure that there was increased access to proteins, we also saw good practice in hand washing, people washing their hands at those 5 key points a day, crucially before they're eating their meals in the day. And we've also seen that that's led to positive ramifications in the wider community. So once those behaviours are entrenched, they tend to spread beyond just the initial focus of the programme and out into the wider community. And that in turn has resulted in much greater feelings of loyalty and positivity towards the employers. And then finally, if we next slide, please. So having successfully worked through that partnership with GAIN, we wanted to how could we take Seeds of Prosperity and develop and scale it much further. So again, focusing on that aspect of improved nutrition and hygiene in communities and much more across other areas. So through a partnership we have with the Ethical Tea Partnership, we're now rolling that program out with other peer companies to look at a sector-wide nutrition program. So dietary diversity and and really making sure that we can increase the availability and the affordability of different food groups for people working in our tea plantations and beyond. So this year we're now going to start rolling that out, and we've set ourselves an initial target of over 800,000 people. In conclusion, when I look back at what GAIN and CGF have announced and set up with the Workforce Nutrition Alliance, we are hugely supportive. I think our key learnings have been the value of working in partnership, the recognition that our employees are absolutely 100% our biggest asset, and we and all of us succeed if we put their health and well-being front and centre. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I think we can't hear you, Isabel.
There is much progress to be done on the culture of health and well-being for our employees. Just before, yes. Oh, sorry, my sound is on. Do you hear me?
Yes, no. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Rebecca. It was an honor for us to have you during this webinar with Lawrence, to remind everyone how employees is at the very core of our agenda and how we can progress there. Thank you so much. And I suggest that we move over to Pierre Chandon, who is leading our work, especially with INSEAD, on how to impact behavior change. Pierre, I'm going to ask you for a little favor there. Because of timing, I want to make sure that we have the closing remarks of our CEO sponsors. So I would invite you to share a brief word for us about why you are asking us for call to action to set up new forms of collaboration. So the floor is yours, but I suggest if you can either go through your slides or really briefly share what's the call to action from your perspective.
Thank you, Isabel. I'll be brief, and I want to thank the 230 people who are still tuning in. I'm going to be very brief and say that basically I believe that it's a good time for the CGF to enlarge the collaboration to also include academics and researchers. This is not just based on my own experience, but also talking to my colleagues at Oxford and other universities that we mentioned. And I give you two reasons why. Number one, the food industry has a trust problem. You're doing wonderful things, but when you ask people, who do you trust to provide good advice, reliable advice about healthy eating? People trust health professionals, consumer associations, but not you. On the other hand, COVID, that we discussed a lot, has given us, I think, the good news, which is a solution, that people are now trusting science. Clearly, you see governments are relying on scientists, you see people themselves are learning so much about the science process. And so if we move to the next slide, you'll see that what we can do together is actually take the data from CGF companies and publish scientific results, such as the one you see here on the left, that will then trickle down to shorter pieces for opinion leaders like in Harvard Business Review, and more importantly, will certify, because we have reviewers, we have journal editors, and we have authors who will put their name here to say, this is what happened, this is what we did, this is what we found and what we didn't find. In one word, certification, as opposed to the food industry just declaring victory alone, saying, hey, we did these wonderful things, believe us. This will help convince your customers and your employees, and we saw how important they are, that there is real progress being made. And so this was the first reason to work with academics. The second reason is the next slide, is that if you work with academics, you will actually access a wealth of knowledge. And I will not go through the details here, just to say that when we at the CGF in France, called On S'y Met, we set up to think about what are we going to do to impact people's lives. We didn't have to invent the wheel because we had the results of a meta-analysis, which I did, of 299 different actions. And we knew, for example, that the effectiveness of actions improve as we move from cognition, informing people, to affect, motivating people, to actual behaviors. So we together co-created interventions in the stores that make the healthy choice the easy choice, and try to promote fruits and vegetables because they're delicious and not just because they're full of nutrients. And if we move to the next slide, how do we do that in practice? I'm going really fast here, but the first idea is to go slow, because academia moves very slowly. You need years to publish a paper, and you have to do it well, otherwise it's awful. It's just the opposite. Everything backfires. So for example, with CGF in Lyon, we pre-registered a study. We said, here's how the products will be included. Here's how we will measure the nutritional quality. And we didn't get any funding directly from the industry. But in other countries where there are universities and like INSEAD that may need it, I think it's probably a good idea to think about the consortium model. And now in practice, what it also means, get academics in line from the beginning, from the very start, not just at the measurement phase. And also try to think about this thing. You as the industry, of course, you want to put all of your weapons to fire at the same time for big impact. As science tries to look at things one at a time to know what really happens. But what I want to conclude with, Isabel, is that there are lots of researchers around the world, from China to Mexico to UK, France, that actually would love to collaborate to really show and document and certify all the progress that the industry has done. And I hope that what we've started doing in France, for example, but also in the UK, can serve as a stepping stone for a broader, more global new ecosystem of collaboration. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Pierre, and it's a real pleasure to work with you and to collaborate and to learn together. Yes, new collaboration is needed. Now I hand over back to our CEO sponsors for the closing remark, and it's time for us to act now, because as some famous people say, if not us, who? And if not now, when? So the floor is yours, Frans and Mark. Thank you so much for your leadership and your sponsorship in the movement.
Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, I was on mute. My apologies. So thanks for the pointer, Frans. And Isabel, thank you for leading us through this program this afternoon. And also, Marcus, appreciate your support in curating this program. I also wanted to thank everyone who contributed to the program this afternoon. I think around the world and across different projects, it showed us a full breadth and richness of what can be accomplished and what we can do at the manufacturer and retailer level to promote health and wellness around the globe. And I think lots of food for thought and lots of things that can be multiplied and scaled up and brought to fruition over time. The journey is going to be long, but I think it's going to be worth it. And collectively, we can touch a lot of people's lives, both among our consumers that we're serving, but also, of course, among our workforce. And ultimately, when you think about our supply chains, I think we're also contributing to the health of the planet. Health and safety of our employees is paramount, and I particularly welcome the Workforce Nutrition Alliance between the CGF and GAIN, and let's support the objective of implementing programs that can deliver positive outcomes for 3 million employees by 2025. Let me hand it over to Frans to conclude the webinar, and my thanks to everyone who attended.
Thank you, Mark. I think that this topic is top of mind for all of us to create healthier lives and to prevent diseases, both with food companies, non-food companies, and retailers, both in food solutions, personal hygiene, and so on. And it's amazing, the turnout has been amazing with the starting of the call with 500 participants. So it's therefore also not a surprise that both Mark and myself, we enjoy being a co-sponsor, because we also feel that this is so relevant and important to all of us, to our industry and the reputation of our industry, the role and the accountability we have, but also to society and communities. At the very beginning of the call, we said we are highly enthused by the number of participants, but we also said we can use more participants in the local initiatives. We had a very strong lineup today with a number of examples in the beginning and a number of reporting outs with China and with the UK and with LATAM, and that was very special. But there are more initiatives to go for because we would like to scale these initiatives, as we said earlier. If I compare this, and Mark and myself, if we compare this with 1 year ago, that a lot of progress has been made with the coalition, and therefore thank you to all the speakers of today. Thank you very much to all the movement in the coalitions. And it's not only retailers and manufacturers, it's also NGOs, it's also governments, it's also public-private partnerships, and it's also academia. And I think that combination makes it so strong. Before I close off, we know that this has been a tremendous amount of work to make this progress. And therefore, a very special thank you to Sharon and Eva from the CGF, to Isabel of Danone, and to Marcus of Walmart, and all three of them helped us through the program today, and Salia from Nestle, and Imke from Ahold Delhaize. Thank you very much for your leadership, because you do daily the work, we know, and we appreciate very much what you all do and the progress made. So finally, from my side, stay safe and well. And should I return this back to you, Sharon, or is it at the same time the closing of today's call?
Closing, I can't beat that. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us for 2 hours. We really appreciate it, and looking forward to following up. I'll follow up on all the Q&A that we got through the chat. Thank you, Franz. Thank you, Mark, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Raj. Take care.